Hello class, welcome to this video on lesson 3.4, the homework practice problems. So we're going to be looking at the graphing composition transformations homework practice on Canvas. So what we're going to do first is we're going to follow the directions for plotting the pre-image and then performing the two transformations. So we're going to label our pre-image. We're going to label part B and C, the graphs, different colors, and then we're going to label the final image here. And so I'm going to show you how to do the transformations using the transformation rules, the arrow notation, and then we'll go ahead and graph it. So let's do the pre-image first, and then we'll do the transformation, and then I'll graph the part B and C. So the pre-image is a quadrilateral ABCD, so we're going to plot A, which is negative 6, 4. B is negative 5, 6. Negative 4, 4 for C. Negative 5, 2 for D. So this is my quadrilateral. Okay, so we got our pre-image. We're going to label this our pre-image. And next we're going to transform it according to, so we're going to reflect it across the line x equals negative 2, creating the image A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. So we have x equals negative 2 as a vertical line. So we're going to draw a vertical line through x equals negative 2, like this. All right, and that's my line x equals negative 2. So we're going to flip this or reflect it about that line. So when you do that, these distances have to be the same. So this distance, that is 1, 2, that's 3 units away. So it has to be 3 units away on the other side. So right here. So this is going to be B prime. Let's use a different color for that. Let's see, C has to be the same distance as well. It looks like it's 2 units away. So it'd be 2 units away there. Let's C prime. A looks like A is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. So it's going to be 4 units away up to this point. D looks like it's 3 units away there. So it looks like it'll be here, 3 units away on the other side. This will be my D prime. All right, so we got our new quadrilateral. All right, and that's how it looks like. It's a perfect reflection about x equals negative 2. And now we're going to do part C, which is translated according to this rule. So this rule means that you're going to the right 3 and you're going down 5. So right's 3, down 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, that's going to be B double prime. Repeat that for the rest of the points. So that's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's do it for C. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally, D. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and this right here is my image. All right, so we have a reflection and then we have a translation according to the model. Now let's look at the second problem. So for the second problem, we have a pentagon, EFGHI. We're going to reflect it about y equals 3 and then rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So let's go ahead and do the reflection first, or let's do the pre-image, but this one's going to be in blue, or this one's going to, image is going to be in blue, and of course the final one will be in red, just like I did last time. So we have pentagon, EFGHI. So E is -5, 1. This black mark should be over here. F is -3, 3. -1, 3 for G. 1, 1 for H. -2, 0 for I. Okay, so this looks like an upside down pentagon, like what you would normally think of as pentagon. It's like it's an upside down version of that. Okay, so there's my pentagon, my pre-image. So now I'm going to take that pre-image and I'm going to reflect it across the line y equals 3. So y equals 3 is a vertical line, or a horizontal line rather, which that horizontal line goes through here. And so that's my horizontal line y equals 3. So basically we're flipping it about that line, and so if we flip it, F and G are going to stay put, right? So F and G are going to stay on that line, whereas H is going to reflect 2 units away on the other side. I is going to be 3 units away. E will be 2 units away. We're going to draw this the best we can. All right. So we have this blue image before we get to the final image. So now we're going to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we're going to have to write down that rule. Okay, so we're going to take, so the rule for rotating 90 degrees counterclockwise is we take, so in order to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, the rule is that, here, let me you take XY, write this a little smaller. So I can write this in the arrow notation. So I'm going to take that XY and I'm going to transform it according to this rule. And if I rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, that means the X and the Y switch. Yeah, counterclockwise, and then this is going to be negative sign. Okay, so if you imagine it, if you have this point right here, it'll rotate like this, and that would be like an example of something that would be 90 degrees rotated counterclockwise. Okay, so yes, that's the rule that we're going to use, and so we're going to use that rule for each of these points. So we're going to take the blue point XY, we're going to transform it to the red point negative YX. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that for each of these points. Let's do it for let's go ahead and do it for G prime. So G prime is right here, and it's negative 1, 3. Write down all the coordinates actually. So we have G prime, H prime. H prime is 1, 5. Prime is negative 2, 6. E prime is negative 5, 5. And F prime is negative 3, 3. And so you're not going to draw this on your graph, right? I'm just, drawing it here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and move this. So I have plenty of room on the original graph. Okay, and we'll do it over there on that side. Okay, so those are my 5 points on my pentagon, and I'm going to transform them according to this rule. All right, so what's the rule? The rule is you switch X and Y, and then you change the sign of the first. So you're going to switch X and Y, change the sign of the first. Switch X and Y, change the sign of the first. So the first one is 5, so it's going to be negative 5. Just to 6, negative 2, and then sign there. Change the sign for E double prime, and so on. Okay, so these coordinates in red are my image. All right, so it looks like we have our final pentagon. Okay, so this is going to be our image. All right, so you can see that it's reflected about y equals 3, and then we went ahead and rotated this point 90 degrees that way. Of course, about the origin. All right, so that's going to be problem number 2. Let's go ahead and move to problem number 3. So first off, we're going to take the pre-image, the triangle WXY, and we're going to transform it by rotating the triangle 270 degrees clockwise, which this is the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise. So here in this problem, they said 90 degrees counterclockwise. That's the same thing as 270 degrees clockwise. So really that's asking the same thing as this. About the origin, creating the image w prime, x prime, y prime, then reflect across y equals negative x, creating a new image. So this one, we're going to use the 2 rules for this because we can't really visualize it as easily as we can do a reflection. So we're going to first, as a reflection about x or y, I mean. So we're going to use the 2 rules for that. The first rule, we're rotating 270 degrees. So we're going to take xy and we're going to do a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. That's going to give us our blue point. And remember that the rule for that is you switch y and x, and then the first number changes sign right there. That's going to be the first rule. The second rule, we're doing a reflection across y equals negative x. Give us our red point. And so remember that normally the rule for a reflection is that it takes xy and basically you switch, it was y equals negative x, yeah. So we take that and we switch y and x, and then one is negative, and then they both are negative. So that's the rule for that. You switch them and then they're both negative. And so that we're going to do that here. So if you switch the first and the second positions, right, then you're left with x negative y. But then you have to use those negatives, right here. So then you have to put a negative in front of them. Then I know if I do a double negative in front of this y, that's going to turn into a positive, right? So that just becomes a positive. So this basically becomes negative x and y. And so I know that if I do this, this is the same thing as, this is just a side note here, is that if I take xy and I transform it to get the negative x y, that's the same thing as doing a reflection about the x-axis, or the y-axis rather. Interestingly, if you perform this action, that's the same thing as doing a reflection about the y-axis. And we'll show you this when we do the problem. So, but this is just a side note. So we're going to use these 2 rules for each of these coordinates, okay? So let's use the first rule and transform w, x, and y. So let's write down the coordinates. So w is 0, 4. X is negative 2, negative 2. And y is 1, negative 3. So we're going to transform them according to that rule. I'm going to do a rotation 90 degrees about the origin, okay? So if you did that, you're gonna switch it. So it's gonna be switch it and then change the sign of the first one. Okay, so you switch this, change the sign of the first one. So it'll be 4, 0, then change this to negative. It's gonna be my W prime. Switch these, -2, -2, change the sign of the first one. So it's now +2. Again, switch these, change the sign of the first one. So it's +3. All right, that's our first transformation. We're going to draw that in a little bit. Now next, we're going to do the the second transformation, which is a reflection about y equals -x. I want to verify that it does say -x. It does, okay. All right, so using that rule, basically you switch the two numbers, and then the first one becomes negative, opposite sign. The first one is changes sign. So you switch them, the first one changes sign. So you switch -4 and 0, becomes 0, -4. Then the first one changes sign. But 0, it doesn't really matter if 0 is negative or positive, because 0 is neither negative nor positive. So it's just going to stay 0. Now this one, this will be my W double prime, the X double prime down here. So you switch them, so you have -2, 2, and then this one's going to be positive. Change the sign of that first one. This one's going to switch to 1, 3, then change the sign of that first one. So it'll be -1, 3. Okay, so then this is going to be Y double prime. Oops, guys, I apologize. So I used the wrong rule here. I used this rule right here. I meant to use so for y equals -x, you switch them and then change the signs of both of them. Okay, so switch them, change the sign of both. So yeah, you switch them, change the sign of both of them. Okay, so see how y was negative and then it turned positive. So you flip the sign. So I forgot to flip the sign of both of them. So switch them, and then you get 0, -4. Switch the sign of both of them. For x, it doesn't do anything. For y, it would be positive for y. And then switch them, so you get here. Let me show the switch again. -2, +2. So I switched them, and then they both change sign. So +2, -2. All right, let's do this one. Switch these, so you get 1, 3. Change the sign of both of them. So -1, -3. All right, and that's the way you should do it. Okay, so that is my rule. And so now I can go ahead and plot those. So let's do the blue first. 0, -4, 0. Oh, let's draw our original as well. I forgot to draw the original. So let's do the original. 0, 4, -2, -2. Okay. That's our first triangle, and then we're going to do the blue triangle. Okay, so basically this, to get from the black to the blue, we rotated it 90 degrees this way. Okay, so now we're going to do the red one, so 0, 4, or this should say, yeah, so it'd be 0, 4. This will be W prime. 2, negative 2 will be X double prime. Okay, and then we have negative 1, 3 for Y double prime. I forgot to switch the sign of 3 here, I apologize. You switch both of these and then change the sign. I forgot to change the sign of the 3 there. So you switch these and then change the sign of both of them. So I forgot to do that there. Negative 1, negative 3. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and sketch our image. All right, so as you can kind of see here, so this red is my image. This black is my pre-image. So if we rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise and then reflect about y equals negative x, that's the same thing as taking this black pre-image and reflecting it about the taking as doing that and reflecting about this axis right here. You can see that it's the same thing as reflecting about this purple. It's a mirror image about that purple line. So it's the same thing as doing a reflection about the y-axis, as we mentioned earlier, as a side note. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hope you found this useful, and as usual, I'll see you in the next one.